What's cooking, folks? Vermillion Phoenix here, and today I'm here to talk to you about some things I think new players should know in Orcs Must Die Unchained. Now, this is going to cover some basic game knowledge and also some options that may make it easier for you to understand what's going on in the game. Not necessarily strategies or anything like that. That's something that I reserve for like other types of videos that I want to make, but this is really going to be more about UI stuff and ways that you can like set some things up, basically because a lot of questions come at me, like people leave comments asking for these things repeatedly, and I figure put it in a video, like kind of consolidate everything, and you guys should be able to pick it up. So first, let's head over to your profile. These are quests. You have 3 of them every day. This is a general quest, a minion killing quest, and then a hero quest. No matter when you're in the game, you always have these 3 quests, and they come in with a chest for the general and minion kill quest that is applicable to your current challenge level. Now, the challenge levels in the game are Apprentice, War Mage, Master, and Rift Lord, and they are based upon, or your entrance into them are based upon your account level. I'll get to that in a moment. But by completing these quests, you obtain a chest just as you would for your 3-star and 5-star victories on a map, and they contain items. Since you get 2 of these a day, that means on top of whatever chests you can gain from playing the game and completing it with any sort of skill or with all the heroes, then you get 2 extra chests a day, and that'll help just fill out your collection. As you're most likely a newer player, it will give you more options and power available as you play more matches and get into the more difficult content. Then we have your hero quest. The hero quest is always 500 skulls. In the beginning, that is a lot. The fact that you only get about, I think 60 skulls for the apprentice maps, unless they increase the skull reward. I do recall hearing about that in the patch notes a while ago, but I'm not sure what the exact amount is per map now. But either way, 500 skulls is a lot, and the early maps or upgrades really don't cost that much, and so each one of these is going to be like a trap upgrade for you. Until you get into some of the later traps and the rarer ones, where you'll need to collect a lot more chests before you're able to upgrade them. Either way, because it's a significant boost in skulls for, in some cases, a single match, that's going to be very important for you to actually pay attention to and try to acquire. Now, with each of these, you can roll or re-roll it once per day. So while I have 3 quests here, I've already re-rolled the center one because I don't feel like playing Sabotage today, so I'm going with Orcicide. You always start with the kill 450 Sabotage minions quest and then can re-roll that into Orcicide. If you have Orcicide already and choose to go into Sabotage, you can kill Orcicide if you haven't used to reroll that day already, and turn it into the kill 450 Sabotage minions again. With this, the general quests are generally, they're usually a lot more diverse than most of the other quests. They can require you to kill a boss, do something specific, or kill a certain type of enemy. So like sometimes you may have to get a 5 or 6 times combo. In this case, it wants me to place 2 guardians. Sometimes it'll have you kill Swifty Hooves or Ticklick, but that can change from day to day. Either way, if you don't like what you have, re-roll it. For the hero chest, it always has you do something specific with that hero. Now, there's been a lot of feedback to make these less tedious, but at the same time, they should usually be obtainable within 1 to 2 matches. So if you can't freeze 200 enemies with Tundra, you're probably either doing way too much damage or you just need to use his epic ability a few more times. But should be pretty straightforward there. Now, account level. Account level is a basic part of the game, but a lot of people don't understand it. Account levels start at 1, and you gain 250 skulls every time you increase it. So there is a lot of skulls on the table just for playing the game, and your account level also gives you some passive bonuses to your heroes. For every account level gained, you gain a 1% health and 3% damage. The 1% health is pretty much stock, it never changes. The 3% damage is affected by other multipliers in the game. So if you were to say play solo, that 3% damage is multiplied by the 3 times solo damage multiplier, so it adds up a lot. So when people ask me, or if you ever wondered why I seem to do a lot of damage when I'm playing, most of the time it's because I'm playing solo. If I was playing with other people, I would be doing somewhere between half as much to a third as much damage. And that's really significant when you think about how much you have to do solo, because if your damage was the same as playing with 3 people, it would effectively make you very vulnerable and a lot more difficult to play alone. But that's pretty much it for the heads up screen, I believe. There's not much else here that I don't think people would not know about, other than maybe the loadouts location. The loadouts are a list of pre-made, or not pre-made, you can create a list of pre-made decks to use while playing the game. And to reach that, you just need to be on the profile screen. If anybody didn't know where it was, that's where it is. And then you can just edit these and fill them in with whatever gear, guardians, traps, and traits you like. There's consumables here as well. But yeah, from there, I think the last place that we want to touch is on the game options. So let's go ahead and hop in.
Big shotgun equals big fun.
All right, so on the right, what you'll notice are performance indicators. I usually don't play with these on, and generally what they're going to do is tell you if there's something that's decreasing the game's performance. A lot of times you may have a lag spike happening and you're not sure what it is. Even if you have some sort of godly beast PC, there are things that will lag the machine, or just the gameplay in general. Bandwidth is your overall bandwidth. If you have any slowdowns or loss of connectivity for any reason, you will see bandwidth and ping go down. Ping doesn't respond based on your bandwidth alone. It's just the round trip time of sending information between your machine and the servers. If that gets bad, then there's a server communication issue, and then packet loss usually is sort of a result of the top two. And if this is ever not none, then you start running into problems. Drop packets basically mean actions that you're carrying out are not communicated to the server, and then they just don't happen, or things start looking really bad. Now, if you see any of those start to light up, usually the reason is a huge use of physics traps or special effects that are going on in the background. All of that has to be communicated like to and from the server and the people that are on. So if you're playing in a party, expect that to be a bit more strenuous than usual, but normally that doesn't become too big of an issue unless you get like really ridiculous endgame setups. However, I haven't had any issues with like bandwidth lately, so hopefully, none of those issues start to rear their ugly head again. Now, CPU and GPU use are pretty much entirely on you. Those should never really be poor, though in some cases, if there are bugs happening, then you can see those change from good to okay or bad. Once they hit bad, then usually that means you're going to start running into stutters or other problems with the game. It's a good way to identify if you're experiencing a bug other than something that you can visually see or experience within the game. So if you're looking for bugs or hunting for them, it's a good idea to turn those on. If you're not recording or anything like that, then it's probably a great idea to just play with them in general. But I usually like to make sure that I can maximize the area on the screen and see what I'm fighting against. So I turn that off. Now, that is in the options menu under gameplay. And there's a lot of very useful things in here. The first thing that I would definitely recommend everybody goes and turns on is show game time and show par time. If you notice underneath my wave and score counter with the rift points, you don't see anything under them right now. Normally you do, and that's because as soon as they added this feature, I turned both of these on. The game time is the one on the left, the par time is the one on the right. Par time has a star next to it. If you complete the match in under that time, you will get the 5th star. On the left is the current time, and it only begins after your first go break. That's why it's not counting up right now. As soon as I push Z, or as soon as the go break timer that is secretly counting down in the background expires, the first go break will end and that timer will start counting up. So again, it's under options and then gameplay. And there we go. There we have it. Show game time, show par time. There's a screen low health warning, which you can turn off. If the flashing and everything sort of gives you an issue when your health gets low, feel free to turn that off. That way, if it causes you any sort of problems, it goes away. Split loadout doesn't really seem to do much for me. Like, I don't notice any cognitive difference there, but I could be wrong about what that does. Show command and stat bars. So I'm a fan of showing stat bars, command and stat bars, and health and mana values, mainly because I need to see, or it is important information for me to see the health of enemies that are coming through. There was a hotkey for that, and I can probably look it up. But if you want to make sure that it's on, just come in here and make sure that that is ticked. And for me, it's important for players to get used to playing with the health bars enabled so that they can learn how to prioritize enemies that are at low health, and it'll basically save you rift points if you learn to prioritize correctly that way. Of course, these are the mouth sensitivities, and these are always going to be personalized. I would recommend playing with these if you have a hard time aiming. I have had a few comments about how my mouse moves the way it does, and it's all from tweaking this. You have to play with it a bit. For me, I usually like this somewhere between 60 and 70, depending on how good my muscle reflexes are that day. If I'm having some problems with my wrist, I'll usually turn it down. But other than that, it's usually pretty good. There are colorblind options. So if you are colorblind, you can choose the particularly applicable one, and it should make changes to the color palette in the game to help to accommodate your sight and help you identify things a bit better. So that's an accessibility option, and I love every time I see those in any game. I know a few people that have color blindness, and they love just being able to play a game because people have taken the time to actually pay attention to that. So kudos to the devs for that one. Allow allies to sell my traps. This is a hotkey as well. It is the apostrophe key that's right next to the enter key, and if you push this outside of the menu, it will tell you whether or not people on your team can sell your traps. Now, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you leave that on, then players that may not understand what you're doing can just sell your traps, and sometimes this can literally lead to a game loss. Generally speaking, it's a good idea to try to communicate with your team. But I've had situations where I went into public games and we've had like a minion flow going, and then in the middle of a wave, starting from one wave into the next, they will sell it and try to reposition some things, and then we're dealing with 3 lanes where we thought we had 1, and it just becomes a headache. But if you trust your teammates, go ahead and turn that on and you should be good to go. But it's always best to try to hash out things like that before you start a match, and that way you have fewer issues. Now there's also sound options here. There's nothing super complicated, but you can adjust the volume for all of the different things in the game: voice, sound effects, music, ambient, which is like background noises like water trickles and things like that, and then the overall master volume. Mine is kind of low because my hearing is actually like super sensitive, and on top of this being at 30, my PC volume is at like 2%, and there's a lot of other things turned down. Like it's kind of nuts. There are frame rate caps. I keep mine at 62. I could probably increase this, because I always ask myself why sometimes things don't come out quite as crisp as I see them. And I think increasing the frame rate cap to match a few things in the capture may actually be better there. So let me try that in the future. Hopefully that doesn't screw up anything with this video. But there are also hardware physics here. This is only really useful if you're running an NVIDIA setup, but you can't see the difference if I turn this on right now, but you get a lot more particles, just sort of clutter in the environment, which looks really nice, but offers literally nothing to the game. And the Rift will look a lot shinier. I prefer turning off hardware physics, specifically because in some areas or some places, you will be fighting near the Rift. When you have hardware physics off, the Rift becomes relatively transparent. I can see through this with very little issue, and it doesn't really obstruct anything too much. Turning on hardware physics, however, gives me a lot of wispy particle effects that are not transparent coming from the Rift. And even though it looks really amazing, and I'm sure the art team did an amazing job on that, the functional issues with like trying to aim while being next to the Rift, and this really comes especially from playing with Cygnus a lot, it is better for me to turn off hardware physics. And I know like there's probably a lot of things that look really great with it on, but at the same time, like I need to be able to aim. But I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have anything that you would like to know, that there's a lot of things that are tucked away in this here. So, you know, definitely go through it. The voice menu is actually completely new. This is from the Discord integration, and if you guys would like to speak with people, I recommend checking this out. Make sure you have Discord installed, and yeah, have fun with that. It offers in-game chat for PC players, and it should work pretty well. Of course, we have the keybinds, and a lot of things are going to be in here. Like talking about those will probably take forever, but there are a lot of useful things to look through here. Toggling maps, hero kills. So hero killing is something that you can do if you get stuck in a position that you can't escape from. It's Alt K, and it has a timer. You have to cast it, and when you do,
That backfired.
extra dead. So there's the timer going off. I think that's a good time to end this video. So, you know, as always, thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys learned something from this. And until next time, as always, have a good one, folks.